Welcome to Huddle Up, brought to you by the Fields Auto Group. Jaguars senior writer John Oehser, NFL Network analyst and former Jaguar Bucky Brooks, and senior reporter J.P. Shadrick bring you the latest on your Jacksonville Jaguars. Huddle Up starts right now.
Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks, brought to you by the Fields Auto Group Jacksonville. See Fields first, Jacksonville's premier luxury auto group. Go to fieldsauto.com. Mandatory minicamp is here. JP Shadrick, John Oehser in the Hyundai Studios, Bucky Brooks in Los Angeles. Pete Prisco in studio with us today as well, infiltrating the Bucky Brooks program.
Well, a couple things right off the bat. Bucky has his own show.
Amazing.
That's unbelievable. What, are they doling these things out to everybody in the world?
It's the Bucky Brooks podcast with special guest Bucky Brooks, and this week's special guest, Bucky Brooks.
I mean, he did play on both sides of the ball, Bucky.
He did.
In case anybody's wondering.
Oh, yeah,
he did.
that's right.
He did.
He was Travis before Travis.
And senior reporter? What the hell are you reporting?
I'm very senior. I'm getting more senior by the day. I know that part.
Bucky, we've got to change the title over there, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a reporter. I was a reporter. JP.
I just read commercials, brother. I don't know, man.
Rip and read.
That's all we got here. Bucky, good afternoon. How about that intro?
Hey, look, man, I love it. Got my favorite guy in the building, Pete Prisco, the guy that we were warned not to talk to when I was in Jacksonville, but somehow 30 years later, Pete Prisco still standing.
Yeah.
Still made it.
How many times did he warn you guys about talking to me every meeting?
I mean, every now and then.
You
Just
don't
gotta be
Talk to
careful.
Prisco.
Just-
You.
I mean, we didn't quite label you rat poison, but it may have been intimated that.
I take that as a compliment, a badge of honor, by the way. Rat poison.
I love that.
He's called me worse.
Yes, he has.
He's called you worse, too.
He's called me worse.
So, mandatory minicamp yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Today open to the public. So, a bunch of fans out there. Pete, what did you like the first couple days?
I mean, it's hard. It's underwear Olympics. You know, I don't get excited about minicamp. And we always talk about, what was it?
Right.
Was it Curtis Marsh?
Well, yeah, there was many.
Curtis Morris.
You single-handedly destroyed Curtis Marsh. But
What?
You single-handedly destroyed
No, I
Curtis
didn't.
Marsh. With
Poor
your,
guy.
Curtis Marsh
with your
came here.
sword.
He came here and in the first weeks he's running around guys, and
Yeah.
everybody thought he was starting to. What they everybody yell at him? Wait till you get pads,
Yeah.
and he disappeared. I mean, it happened. Johnny Morton, when it happened to him too, I think.
Yeah,
it happened. It happens. That's why it's so hard to read into these things. Now you can see picking up the scheme, the receivers running, the DBs covering. The quarterback didn't throw much today. And I think maybe, his arm he's obviously wearing a sleeve, so maybe he's getting worn out a little bit. I mean, it's not just here, by the way. You go around, all the quarterbacks' arms are bothering them.
Well, because it's a different world than what we grew up in the NFL. You've got this time of year that Bucky loves, but it is to be throwing. They work a lot this time of year, which they didn't used to do. I personally don't think as much of this is necessary. I think this is a more classroom time, and that we tend, because it's out there on the field in front of us, JP's heard me say this 1,000 times, because it's on the field in front of us, people want us to evaluate it. And this is really a learning time that, yes, have Trevor throw, but the classroom is what matters this time of year. And as boring as fans probably find the, quote, install periods, we can't analyze install periods, but if you rate the level of importance, those install educational periods are why this time of year matters.
But there's a balance, Bucky, right? You still got to get some work on the field and make it look right.
Yeah, you still have to get it on the field and make it look right. And, these workouts, whether it's OTAs or minicamps, they serve a few different purposes. One, for the coaches, it's a period of experimentation. A lot of times coaches have been in the lab all offseason working on concepts and things, and these practice sessions give them a chance to see what it looks like on tape, whether they want to keep it. So they go through that to flesh it out to see if they want to install it in training camp. And then when it comes to the evaluation and the players, you're trying to see who can pick up the things that they're being taught in the classroom. Can they implement those things onto the field? Can they execute it? Do they look like we thought they were going to look when it's a guy coming from college, making his way to the pros? And then with the veterans, where do we feel like they are in their process when it comes to year 5, 6, or 7? Do we feel like they can contribute? So there are a lot of things working, but really it all means nothing until we start playing preseason games, because the decisions are made really quickly once you get into the season and they start playing games that kind of matter.
There's very few times, Pete, that I've ever written in October, so-and-so running back, comma, who looked terrific in June, comma.
So, I mean, it's just every surgery is a success right now, right? Yeah. Every player's come back in the best shape of his life. He's fit in perfectly. I mean, it's just the boys of summer. That's what I call it. That's what this is.
Just wait till grind mode during the dead period.
Look, okay, for example, let's talk about the draft class. The rookie running back, Tootin. Can you tell anything about him? We know he's fast. Can you tell anything about his running ability? No, you can't, because he's not running with pads. The safety, Ransaw, he's looked good. I mean,
good play today.
Yeah, he's good. Made a great play today. He's going to be a really good player. But until you put the pads on, Bucky, you know this. If you start blasting people, I say that because nobody hits anybody anymore, anyways. Right. But you have no idea if these guys can play football or not.
No, you don't. And look, you want to keep everything in perspective, but all we can talk about is what we have in front of us right now. If we can't blow up minicamp and not have people pay attention to what the Jags are doing now. But you're right. None of this means anything until we put the pads on. For the skill guys, you can get some of the timing done. You can kind of build the chemistry and connection. And to me, my focus would be on Trevor Lawrence, what he looks like, doing the basics in this offense. How can they build it out to make it even more number 16 friendly? But yeah, like, we won't see the physicality, the toughness until you put the pads on, and then really start making real assessments on who can and who can't play in this league.
There's a couple of things I believe you can see this time of year. And Pete, I want to get your thoughts on these. If you're around it, which we've been and which you got here today, you can get a feeling of whether or not players believe in the direction. And I never know how to define that, but you can feel it. And from talking to players, from being around this, they do believe in this. And I think that matters very much. Tangibly, I think what you can see that's different to me, this receiver group might be the best overall receiver group, has a chance to be the most special, most dynamic. Keenan and Jimmy are a different world. They're the legends of this franchise. So I can't compare the top two to those two guys. But this receiver group, the way they move is different.
They're all fast.
Yeah.
Everybody. And what did we talk about all last year, JP? No speed on offense. No. Brian Thomas could run, but he was a kid early in his process.
Everybody else was running quicksand.
Everybody else, nobody could run. Yeah. Well, now they can run. And everybody puts the fear into a defense. You got to defend them differently. And when they come up and they move them around, that's one of the best things about them. I think, nobody's in one spot. They all move around. There's a lot of plays, and you see where they put them in motion before the snap and get them going out into the route. I love that because they were stagnant on offense. It was a very stagnant offense. And I think that's the biggest difference is they can run now. And when you can run, look, compare anybody to Jimmy and Keenan, they got a long way to go to get to that. Do they have the potential to get to that? Those two guys have the potential. Brian Thomas is being cheated. And I feel bad about that in a lot of ways. Travis Hunter's going to be a great player. Don't get me wrong. I love him. I love everything I've seen from him. I've watched a lot of his stuff. I watched him in college. I love this game. But Brian Thomas is he's the real deal. We talk about all-time great receivers right now in this league. You're talking about Jefferson and Chase. This kid has a chance to be that. And he's not getting talked about enough about it. And that's where I think he's getting cheated a little bit. I think he's going to get to that level. And look, Travis Hunter's going to be a great player too. But let's not forget about Brian Thomas, because I think right now, if you ask me right now who the best rookie receiver was a year ago and which of those guys I would take, before the draft, it wasn't him. It was Malik Neighbors. But I was not one of those Marvin Harrison guys like everybody else, because I like suddenness. I like guys who can go. Brian Thomas was right there with him. But right now, Brian Thomas is the best of that group.
There's one way to get to that point, though, and that's just play. I mean, play and produce, right? No matter the noise around you now, right?
And as far as Brian Thomas Jr., that's absolutely what he can do. And JP, I believe it's what he will do. And there's certain guys, when you cover the league, that you can feel as rookies sort of scratch the surface, and then you get the idea that they are ready to start taking over games and start being the reason that teams excel. And the guy that I'm thinking of as I say this was Bob Sanders in Indy when I covered him. He played about 5 or 6 games as a rookie. But when you talk to people, this is the Colt safety from the mid-2000s. But when you talk to people in the offseason, when you watched camp, there was a second-year thing with this guy where all of a sudden his second year was 2005, and the Colts defense that year was the best in the league during the regular season because Bob accelerated and became a game-changing player. When they're great, that's what happens in their second year because they all of a sudden get it. There's many, many other guys that you've seen do that, but that's what BTJ feels like. He feels to me like he's a guy who could get 1,600 yards, all-pro, that sort of mention. I'm not sure when the last time we've had a guy, I think Calais in 17 was that level of this is a guy who is lifting a franchise. BTJ has that feel to me.
And you know, you talk about the second year, even more so for wide receivers, because usually in their first year, they're figuring it out. They're reading on the run. They're not playing as fast as they normally would, where they get more comfortable. And again, it's a new offense, so he's learning again. But he's much more comfortable with what the idea is of playing wide receiver in the NFL.
Bucky, how does a young player handle all this?
No, look, I think John MP made great points. Most time, the biggest jump that a young player makes is from year 1 to year 2 because they now know the league that they're in. They know how to better prepare for the league. That development kicks in, and they go from training for the combine to really training for success on the field. So Brian Thomas Jr. should make a huge leap. And going back to what was thrown out there in terms of like Keenan and Jimmy and this being the best wide receiver core potentially that the Jags have had, I would say yes. And I would say that even though BTJ is not getting the attention, I think around the league, when they look at the scouting report, I think the number one player that they're going to put a dot on is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. because he's proven and he's established. And I would say that Brian Thomas Jr. is more of the Jimmy Smith in this scenario. Travis Hunter is more like Keenan, maybe more dynamic, but more of the complement to the guy that's the main entree. BTJ is the main entree. He's the number one. I think if we stretch this out and say a perfect world, what it looks like BTJ having 1,500 yards, Travis Hunter having 1,000 to 1,100 yards, and maybe more explosive plays. But make no mistake, BTJ is the number one receiver on this team.
And no matter how good Travis Hunter gets, Keenan will still think he's better.
That's what I was going to say. Well, more dynamic. I know Keenan would love that.
Travis Hunter might want to call Keenan up and ask him how to run routes.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Keenan, you know that, Bucky. Keenan was one of the best route runners this league has ever seen. And he's now one of the best wide receiver coaches this league has ever seen. So I think when you look at Travis Hunter, that's the step for him, is learning how to run routes. It's clear when you watch him, the natural ability is there. I don't think he was ever taught to run routes. I don't think anybody at Colorado taught him how to run routes.
No, I mean, that was the big thing coming out. Like, I would say this, like, he is definitely more of a playmaker than a precise route runner. He is more of a get the ball in his hands and let him go to work. And that's different. And we will see how that plays out, particularly when they start playing against good defensive backs, guys that are sound technically. It could be a little harder for him to create space, whereas BTJ is smooth, fluid, polished, dynamic. He can do it all. He can take it off the top. He can run the intermediate stuff. So he is what you typically want as a number one, someone that can do it all. Travis Hunter, to me, is a high-end number two that can make big plays, and he is going to be a big play specialist, but I don't think he has the skill set right now to be a number one. I think he will always kind of be
headline. Bucky Brooks says Jaguars traded up to number 2 to get a number 2 wide receiver.
No, but see, but Pete,
I get what you're saying.
But Pete, even in that, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he was I thought he had more potential to be a dominant player at cornerback than at wide receiver. I think the reason why at corner he can make things happen is because his ball skills are unrivaled. Like, I haven't seen anyone who can catch the ball and make the plays that he naturally makes on defense. On offense, I always felt like he was a playmaker more so than a polished receiver. And it's easy to get excited about what guys do on offense. That's the nature of our league. But to me, his value is in being a two-way player more so than just being a one-way star.
The 2025 season schedule has dropped. Single game tickets are on sale now, so don't miss your favorite matchup. Secure your tickets at jaguars.com/tickets. We'll call 904-633.
Hurry up and get those number two wide receiver. You can watch that number 2 wide receiver.
2000. That's Pete Prisco, CBS Sports. You might have heard of him. Bucky Brooks, of course. J.D. Shadrick with John Oehser. I love you, Pete, man. I really do. I mean, we've got a lot to figure out in the fall coming up about the programming and all that. But you're going to be back around, I hope.
Yeah, I'll
right?
be back.
Okay, good.
I just hope your dad likes me better.
Oh no, that's impossible.
No, that hasn't changed.
That's
Dad
impossible. Hates Pete with a capital H.
Because I take Bucky because I take JP's airtime. His dad doesn't like me.
Take shots, unnecessary below the belt shots
At you?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Tony did.
Yeah, that's true too. He loves Tony. Who doesn't? Defense. Yes. Oh, you've done. Oehser raises his hand.
After what happened out there today, Mark Long might not like him
Oh boy. Defense. What stands out to you on the defensive side? New scheme, a lot of new faces in the secondary, but some guys who've been around here for a number of years. They're lighter. We know that for a fact. Just looking at them.
Nobody's throwing meat on the table.
No, they're not.
That's a true story, by the way. Bucky, you know that story, Bucky, that the defensive coordinator threw.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so stupid. That might be one of the dumbest NFL stories I've ever heard in my life.
We've had some around here.
And well, the axe. I mean, we could go on and on.
The axe
We
and
got
the
a
tree
bunch of
stump.
them.
That's another one.
Yeah, but look, they're lighter, they're leaner, but more than that, just watching them out there, they throw a bunch of different looks at you. It's not, and I was talking to Josh Hines Allen after practice, and they love it. They love it. And I think that's the biggest difference. You know, they're lighter and leaner, and that's going to help with their speed and everything, but you can do so many different things now. And I thought they were predictable on defense. That was a predictable defense, and they weren't good. They had so many busted assignments, which just reeked of poor coaching.
They didn't attack.
No, they were bad. Defense. It was a bad defense. This defense can be much better. Now, there's things that have to happen for it to be better, not just schematically you can be great all you want, but you got to have players play. But I do think they're going to be better on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think the intriguing thing, because Campanelli, who I think is unbelievably good for this team, this roster, these players, the amount that they believe in him, the way he's connected to him, I think does matter very much. He puts such an emphasis, and this is important no matter what scheme you're playing, but when a coordinator emphasizes something, it usually tends to rise up. And he puts such an emphasis on getting off blocks and explosion at the point of attack. And that's all he talks about. Like, I shouldn't say it's all he talks about, but he emphasizes it all the time. So I can't help but think that they, by default, are going to be a half yard, whatever the number is, better against the run. If you get a little better against the run, Josh, Trayvon, Eric Armstead inside will be better. I just can't help but think that this defense last year felt, I hate the word soft, but it couldn't stop the run in the moments where it needed to. It couldn't limit that. If it can limit that, there's enough pass rush and you're facing the quarterback in the secondary to create turnovers off pass rush. I just can't help but think the defense rises at least to midway through the league when they were the worst in the league last year.
The run defense has been a problem around here for a while. Let's be frank. I mean, it's just for how many years now? It's been an issue for a couple of years. They just don't stop the run. Mm-hmm. And when you don't stop the run and you got beefy pass rushers, you're not going to rush the passer very well.
What it is.
Look, it's a huge issue last year because you couldn't get to the point where you want to rush the passer because the run defense was so leaky. And then when you give up big plays in the secondary, you have no chance of being able to win. This defense should be better because they're going to more of a vision and break defense, more zone coverage, more eyes on the ball. That not only will help them close quicker to the balls that are thrown underneath, but it also helps if the running pops. If they're able to pop a big run, you have more guys that can see it and they can get it down, and so it won't go to the house. It just seems like the guys are really bought in right now to what is being said on offense and defense. But, maybe it's the credibility. Maybe it's just the desire to want to be better after such a horrific season last year. But it does appear that there's a connection between the players and the coaching staff, and the scheme is going to work because the players believe in what the coaches are saying.
The 2025 season at Daly's Place is rolling right now, Pete.
Yeah? What do you got?
Rolling. Vampire Weekend, June 12th. Glass Animals, June 17th. Avril Lavigne at June 23rd. Slightly Stupid, June 26th. Plenty more. 2 nights of Shania Twain in July, by the way. 2 nights. Not one, but 2.
She looks different these days.
DailysPlace.com for tickets and show information. She looks lovely. What are you talking about, Pete?
It just doesn't look like Shania Twain anymore.
Okay. We'll find out July 29th and 30th, I suppose. You're not coming up for that one, I guess, it sounds like.
I actually like her music a little
If
bit.
you don't find out the first night, find out the second night.
We're trying to get Baselli's couch for that.
Well, doesn't he have a suite now?
I'm sure he does.
I'm
He
sure.
has whatever he wants.
You know, he's the kind of guy, he used to take advantage of everybody else's suites and couches. He wouldn't get anybody to take advantage of his.
No.
No.
You can't even get into his.
No.
No chance. What do you got coming up the rest of the day? Peter, you here tomorrow as well?
I'll be here tomorrow. I'm talking to the quarterback tomorrow.
Oh, big.
Yeah.
Mullins?
Ooh.
Huh?
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick,
Great guy.
those helium balloons you threw on practice yesterday.
Well then.
Well, he didn't have a great practice today.
No, not the offense overall. Just
No,
didn't
bad
feel
day for the
great
offense.
today.
Bad day for the offense. I mean, once Brian Thomas goes out, it kind of changes the dynamic of the offense,
A little
doesn't
bit.
it? Yeah.
A little bit.
But look, I'm talking to the quarterback tomorrow. Look, you guys know, it's all on him. It's on him. This team is going to go as far as he goes. If he takes the strides and gets better, it's going to be a good football team. If he doesn't, they're going to have questions about their decision to pay him, and they're going to have questions at quarterback. I tend to agree that he'll take the move to go up. I think his mechanics have improved just from watching what I've seen from him. He's a little quicker, shorter on the release, which I think he needed to be. His elongated windup is shortened a little bit. If he goes to the next step, which I think he can do, then they're going to be a good football team. If he doesn't, then they got major problems and major issues.
And he doesn't even really have to be, to me, in 2025, he doesn't have to be one of the top 2 or 3 guys yet. If he just takes that step and gets to where I thought he was at the end of 22 and the start of 23, then they're fine. And if he accelerates past that, then look out.
Yeah, you got to get him into the top 10 conversation. And right now,
When he was in that in 22 and
of course
23.
he was.
And,
And now he kind of the injury and everything is kind of outside of Jacksonville, the perception of Trevor Lawrence isn't great.
No.
I'll be honest with you. And Bucky knows. Bucky's out in L.A. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a thing where when guys come in, because remember how he was hailed and portrayed coming into the draft. He was talking about a generational talent. We thought he was going to be one of those guys that quickly ascended to being a top 5 player. It hasn't happened like that. He's shown flashes of being the guy that some expected him to be, but he hasn't done it consistently. The one thing that you have to do as a team, once you made a decision to pay him, is let's make sure we give him every opportunity to be the player that we want him to be. And the money is the money. The other thing is getting him to play that way. And so I think you've seen bigger receivers, more explosive receivers, things that he was able to be successful doing at Clemson. You'll see some of those things incorporated. But I think the best thing that Liam Cohen has been able to do, being around it, he saw what Sean McVay did for Jared Goff, and then he personally helped Baker Mayfield kind of take his game up a notch. And a lot of that was understanding who the quarterback is and put him in a position to only do the things that they do well. If they do those things with Trevor and quit trying to make him be something that he's not, he'll have an opportunity to have success. And so it's on the coaches to find a way to make the quarterback right, because he's going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, since this is the last Bucky Brooks show of the offseason.
This is it. We're done.
I like to look for tangible things that will translate onto the field.
Are you using that word because it's like become a buzzword around here?
No, intangible is the buzzword.
well, it all-
Tangible is my buzzword.
Raise the level
But
of the ecosystem, Pete.
If you think about what they're 4-13 last year, if you think about the one thing that could accelerate this team in a hurry, I will go with the speed and playmaking at wide receiver. Think about how much better Trevor Lawrence is, how much this team's better. If out of 17 games, you get 8 more plays, 1 every 2 games, of a guy getting a 15-yard pass and it becoming 60. You had one guy on the team last year, BTJ, who could do it. You've got at least 3 this year. That's a huge difference that, to me, shows up on the scoreboard. And I think if everything else just gets stabilized and that element is as real as I think it might be, I think that's where you see this team. That's the hope for this team to make a huge acceleration next year.
I think the play calling will make a big difference. You know how I felt about the play calling. I thought it was terrible. 18,000 bubble screens in a game. And I know why they were doing it, because they were limited on the offensive line. They were scared. The quarterback got sped up a bunch. He started looking at the rush, and that can never happen. But they have to be able to protect him. And are they significantly better up front? That's the question.
I think that's the major storyline of August and into the first few weeks.
Correct. I mean, because Hainsey's a smart, good, solid center. He's not a great center. The right guard, McCarry's a good player, and he's more self-made, tough, feisty kind of guy than he is an overbearing talent. The right tackle has to start playing. You got a competition going over there. The left guard, I think he's kind of miscast in this offense, but he'll probably start the season at left guard. And the left tackle, they paid him, but this regime didn't pay him. And so, is the line going to be that much better? Or is good coaching going to make the line better? Because I think even they don't have to be the Eagles, because they're not going to be that, but they have to be better than what they were. And I think they can be better than what they were.
And credit to them, because they've done, I thought, within what they had with the cap, what they were doing, you did as much as you could do in the offseason. The offensive line to me is always something that you have to build over a few years. They did as much as they could with their situation to emphasize it, to get it. It feels like it's the first step up a short hill, or maybe a large hill. But I feel like there's hope that it could be better with the factors they've given. And then I think in the next couple of drafts, I think you'll see it accelerate.
Well, like I was in Tampa last week, and Tampa has everybody back on the offense. The entire offense is back, plus Ibuka, the wide receiver they drafted. Yeah. So they're loaded. But you look at and I talked about the offensive line. The left tackle's one of the best in football. There's no question about that. They drafted him. The right tackle has become a really good player. Gedeke, who was a guard, who was a disaster as a guard, but he's become a good player. And the center, Graham Barton's now in his second year. So you got the left tackle, the right tackle, and the center. The other two guys, if they're just adequate, and we know we always talk about guard.
That's supposed to be the formula in the NFL.
Correct. And so here, you paid a left tackle, you invested heavily in the right tackle, and you just paid a center. You're supposed to be whoever plays those other, and McCarry obviously got paid, so he's going to be the right guard. Whoever plays the left guard, you're supposed to be better up front because of the assets you used on that offensive line. And so the questions become the two tackles. That's the questions on this offensive line right now.
But this group didn't pick those tackles.
No.
In theory.
Yeah.
So, Bucky?
No, they didn't. But if they were going to move on or do anything, they had opportunities to do that. They could address those things in the draft or whatever. But Pete and John are right. Like, it's the tomato can theory is what they talk about. Like, you don't have to be great, but you can't have tomato cans playing on the offensive line. Like the guys that are the obvious fish that you can attack everywhere. And if we're talking about the principle where you're having two good offensive tackles in the center, well, then you want guards who can play well with their neighbors, meaning that you can use body help in situations to do that. Are we good enough on the outside to say that, hey, if we have inferior players on the inside, or do we have an inferior offensive line that can't hold up? So that's where Walker Little and Anton Harrison, like if this was back in the day, we say they have to wear the big sombrero in training camp. Are they good enough, or do you have to find other alternatives to be able to put on the field to help this offense get to where it needs to go?
Bucky, you remember the guards on your team when you played here?
No. Not really.
That's what I mean. I bet you remember the tackles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big Baby and Tony. Like, I mean, we can talk about Ben Coleman and those other guys going in there, but
they cycled through them.
Yeah.
Rich Tilsky.
Tilsky, Ben Coleman played guard for a while. I mean, they had rotated guards. It was never, and the center 9 times out of 10, the center wasn't very good either.
In this day and age in the NFL, with the cap, with money you have to allocate, it's supposed to be tackle, center with supplementary guards in your ideal salary cap structured team.
You know what, though? The guards are getting paid now.
Yeah, they are.
The guards have become that's a position that's been getting paid.
Everybody gets paid. Except me.
Except this room. Pete gets paid.
He gets paid.
This room.
Bucky gets paid.
This room.
No,
he has his name on the show. He better get paid.
Yeah, right.
No.
Does anybody else in the whole place have a name on the show?
The Liam Cohen show.
So Liam Cohen and Bucky Brooks. I mean,
it's peas in a pod, those two.
You would have thought he was Jimmy or something.
I mean, you should see the power of Bucky's agent. Hey. Oh, my gosh.
Love you, Bucky.
Bucky.
It's all good. It's all good, Pete. I talked to you. I ignored the ban. I talked to you. In spite of being banned, I still would creep over there.
Was he the
even
mole?
when you were
Was he
trying
the
to get
mole?
me in trouble when
No.
Andre got released.
Yeah.
I still
That's why
went
he got
over and-
released.
And I whispered a few words.
No, Bucky did talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
Bucky
the
was
mole.
good.
He
Bucky
might
was
have
one of the
been-
good guys in that locker room. There were plenty of bad ones. Oh, she got any names?
Yes, I did.
We name names on these shows.
Oh, we name names.
Yes, we do.
G-Funk, wherever you are.
Oh, man. Bucky, have a great off season. This is our last program with you until training camp. Enjoy it.
Oh, sad.
Bucky, you coming for training camp?
I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Hopefully I'm here that
I
time you're here.
I love all those things.
Me
Bucky
too.
Brooks, Pete, thanks for hopping in with us.
Yeah, it was
man.
fun.
Great to see you.
Just the Bucky Brooks show.
Yeah, this is the Bucky Brooks program with Bucky Brooks and 3 other guys.
And special guest Bucky Brooks.
Pete Prisco, John Oehser, JP Shadrick, Bucky Brooks. Our thanks to Joe Fortunato and Brent Reber. Thanks to you for listening and watching Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.